Happy Friday, everybody. Happy Friday. What's up? What's up? What's up? LSU are in full swing of spring. The full swing of spring. The full swing of the spring. No. The full swing of the sting of spring is in the air. And LSU Odyssey are here to take you through the gauntlet of all of it. This is it is hard for me to really encapsulate what's going on so far because I don't think any real, hey, this is exactly where this team is going. Hey, this is where this team is going. Hey, like this is going to be the guy for this position. This is going to be the guy for that position. I don't think you have those answers yet right now. I think there's some places, of course, you can say where some guys will be playing more than others. I'm sure, you could say, of course, Garrett Nussmeier, he's your quarterback. That guy right there, Caden Durham, you could probably say that guy's your number one running back and feel, 99% probably a good there, with that. There's certain positions you can say that, but for the vast majority of spots, competition. You've heard the word competition. And I feel like this is a more cutthroat, a more cold-blooded, and potentially a more savage unit, or I should say squad, than the last few years under Kelly. This is a more, just by the nature of the circumstances, there's continuity with the coaching, but less continuity with the players. Lose 4 of your 5 starting offensive linemen, a bunch of guys who've been there for a long time. Kyron Lacey had been there for a while. You lose some of these pieces, and Josh Williams, another name as well. But at the same time, almost an addition by subtraction in the way that your coaches, you're able to keep, 99% of your coaching staff. You lose a few guys, but you're able to make some good, bring in some real good names, like a Kyle Williams, a guy who's going to be loyal to LSU, stay for a while, and is going to be able to rally the dudes around him. You put him in the room with the best talent in the country. Every kid's going to want to play for him. They watch a game film tape of him. Maybe they say, "Who the hell is Kyle Williams?" They're not going to be saying that after they watch some of his game tape or him, pregame firing everybody up in the locker room in Buffalo or at LSU. The pedigree, it shows it all. Incredible. And Kyle Williams, he's got a lot to work on, but I think he's going to really pay dividends as that defensive line coach for LSU. There's Corey Raymond right there coaching the defensive backs. There's DJ Pickett. Got good eyes on DJ Pickett. Javian Toviano, a guy that a lot of people aren't talking about. I've been guilty of not talking about him, bringing him up much. But Toviano, starting safety right now alongside Tamarcus Cooley. I love the tandem right there. You got 0 right there, Tamarcus Cooley in purple. He's been beaten for some plays, but then he's also rebounded for some plays. You've seen that with guys. Jakeem Jackson had an unreal pick. You saw him rip that ball out of, I think it was Nick Anderson. Yeah, rip that ball out of Nick Anderson's hands in that circulated clip. But then you're also seeing Chris Hilton burning him on some plays, which we had photographic evidence of. So Cooley is also in that as well. A guy who beaten and then also gets better than other guys. Gets the better of other guys. Gets beaten, gets the better of other guys. Gets beaten, gets the better. That's what this spring should be like, and that's what is going to make this team better. And I think that's not. I think that's what we haven't had enough of for LSU in the last few years. Depth of competition. And Josh Thompson isn't even there for the offensive line. He's going to be probably around the end of this week. His father told us after he finishes some exams. So you're going to add Josh Thompson, another of the 16 transfers into this group. You're going to have some more talented freshmen coming at the end of May. The last group that's able to, make that move from high school to college. They're not able to early enroll at some schools in some states, certain rules. But you've got a lot of early enrollees right now getting some good playing time. CJ Ross, you've seen him out there. You've seen a lot of DJ Pickett, of course. You've seen Harlem Berry. And so Tayron Francis hasn't gotten a ton of play, but he's been in there enough for us to see what he's got some attributes, man. He's got some attributes. Tayron Francis is somebody that I am really high on when he was coming out of high school. And now it feels like he has taken advantage of that collegiate weight room, that collegiate strength training more than anybody, like freshman-wise, in this receiving class. Like, he has stood above, head and shoulders above everybody else in that class, for at least receiver-wise. You could probably say skill position-wise, as someone who's elevated their physique athletically from this winter workout session with Jake Flint. Now you see everybody lined up there. These are the edge guys. You got Pyburn, 44 right there, getting into his stance. Gabe Relaford, number 19 right there. There's Kevin Peoples in the middle in the black, coaching him up. There's Patrick Payton, number 6, man. Look at this guy. Look at this dude. Look at this dude, man. Oh, he looks good, man. Patrick Payton. And you can see Kevin Peoples coaching up Pyburn, coaching up Jameer Butler, I believe is number 12, right? Let's make sure of that. Payton looks the part, man. Like, there's a reason he was opposite Jared Verse, making absolute plays nonstop. Yep, Jamari Butler, number 12. It looked like him from afar. 6'5", 260 from Jamari Butler. And then Patrick Payton is another 6'5", 250 guy. So you've got a couple dudes, whereas like last year, Swinson was the obvious edge rushing like pinnacle for LSU, and then Savion Jones was that second guy. This year you might have guys who are like 1A, 1B, 1C. That's what you could be looking at this season, because that's what we're loaded with at the edge position. You got Gabe Relaford as well, someone who could be literally on the outside looking in as far as reps, whereas he was someone coming into this season we were thinking that's going to be the next LSU superstar at the edge rushing position. And instead, yeah, man, it was just it might be a season where Gabe Relaford, it might be hard for him to buy some snaps. And he's an absolute freak of nature. But that's just how good he is. You heard Blake Baker say something where Blake Baker said, you shouldn't, as a defender, want to be playing 70 to 75 snaps a game. Because if you are, A, you can't stop the opponent, and B, you don't have enough good players around you that you're just the only one required to go out there and make plays. You should be wanting to play 40 to 50, something like that. We should be able to rotate at positions and get enough good guys in there. That's what this team has a character about right now for me, is there's a more mercenary, there's a more cutthroat, there's not so much of these guys that we're attached to because they're longtime Tigers. There's a few of those guys, of course. Nussmeier, There's dudes like that, Weeks, West Weeks, all these dudes. But like for the most part, these guys who have come in and the freshmen and maybe even the guys who are returning after just year one, we're going to be relying on those dudes a lot. Not only just to get through and be a competitive team, but possibly to win a national championship. Those guys have to deliver. Those 16 transfers. And so when I'm looking at keys that I want to see in spring, what do I want to see in spring as keys to LSU, future contention? I guess is how we could say it. Keys to future contention. Championship contention. One thing I love is to see that there's a lot of just mostly starters, defensive starters out there on special teams right there. I love how that sets the tone of like, hey, this is as important as it gets. That offense was incredible. You had a defense in 2022 that actually won you a few games, which was incredible. In 2023, you had the worst all-time defense in LSU history because of what that team could have been. 2020 is probably the straight-up worst, but 2023 should be thought of as the worst because it took away a national championship from LSU, at least an opportunity. But you've had a year with the abject worst special teams in LSU history as well in 2022. And then last year, you had a season where back-to-back seasons where you only managed 31 sacks in 2023, and then you only managed 3 more sacks in 2024 with 34 sacks. And you had an incredible list of names for the offensive line, right? Will Campbell, Emory Jones, Garrett Dillinger, Miles Frazier. You couldn't protect Garrett Nussmeier, even though you only gave up, I think it was like 16 sacks, something like that all season, which is a great number. Nuss was, whenever he was hit, it almost knocked him out of the game. Dude was lit up and almost was knocked out of a few games there. Nichols was one of them. It's ridiculous. And every time he was hit, usually there was some fumbles, action, or some just really terrible plays, really big negative plays for LSU. And you could not run the football either. So you had an offensive line that was like an absolute Great Wall of China with Jaden Daniels, and then they could not protect Garrett Nussmeier, and we could not run the football. So you've never, when you go through the Brian Kelly era at LSU, you've had moments where you've run the football dominantly. You've had moments where you've stuffed the run dominantly, defensively. You have never had sustained moments, and you have never, in big games, outside of the legs of Jaden Daniels, been able to run the football consistently on the offense and stop the run defensively on offense. In LSU's losses under Brian Kelly, in all the big high-profile losses, you look at the numbers, and you know what's sickening? LSU allowed over 250 rushing yards on average per game in every single, I believe it was SEC loss that was just counted in that statistic. I think I got that statistic from Matt Moscona. I think I heard that on After for the review. So you allowed over 250 rushing yards on the ground in all those losses. LSU just could not do these little things. Stuffing the run when it mattered, especially. First and second down would be pretty damn good. And then third down, we get crushed for 11, 12 yards. 40-yard burn over the top. It was soul-destroying. And then you could not run the football. You could not run the football. Thank God for Jaden Daniels. Because without Jaden Daniels, Brian Kelly's first 2 years at LSU would have been beyond abject failures because the ineptitude of the offense and the problems with the offense that were masked, the cracks were papered over by the brilliance of Jaden Daniels. And you saw that with Garrett Nussmeier, how damn good Garrett Nussmeier is. But you saw that it took a special athletic skill set, including not just throwing the football like a cannon, a howitzer for an arm, but being able to escape with vision, with timing, and then otherworldly speed too. You got to remember, this isn't just a typical dual threat quarterback, Jaden Daniels. The speed he has to get away from some of those plays where he's dead to rights in the backfield. You know, Emery or Will gets cooked on the outside. They give up the pressure, but they don't give up a sack. And that's why the sack numbers were so low for so long. You look at Nussmeier, the sack numbers were pretty low last year because Nuss got rid of the football a lot of times when he was under duress. We absolutely have to see better decisions from Garrett Nussmeier this season as well. There's no doubt about that. But the offensive line chemistry, the offensive line synchronicity alongside Garrett Nussmeier, it has to be there. It has to be there. But really, for me, you know, one of the big keys to this season that I think is going to define the season, obviously you could say the play of Garrett Nussmeier. That's a duh, you know, like that's a duh. The play of Garrett Nussmeier, well, duh. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the country. You know, that's an obvious one right there, right? But for me, you know, the defense needs to play well. Well, of course. But for me, you know, you look at really these 16 transfers. We need to find out how good these 16 transfers really are. Because if LSU needs to dip into the freshmen more or the returning sophomores more to make this squad a complete thing, a complete team worthy of competing at the highest level, then that has to happen, and we have to figure that out ASAP. And that's what we have. That's why spring has to be intense. That's why we cannot wait until fall camp to figure out who our best guys are. We have to figure that out after 15 practices in spring. Because I feel like LSU continues to lose week 1 games because we consistently do not know who our best players are. Even if the fans say, oh, look at Whit Weeks, him, Perkins, Penn, that's a great linebacker trio. Our defensive coaching staff wasn't even anywhere near that. They weren't thinking anywhere near that wavelength. They were completely over here, and they were dead wrong. The fan base can get things wrong plenty of times and be like, oh, you play him, and then the coaching staff's like, no, we're good with this guy, and they're right usually. Like, my point is, I don't care who's calling for who or the politics. You play the best guy. Age, freshman, super senior, I don't give a shit. And neither should you. Play the best guy. We've heard for so long, it's all about experience, and Kelly values experience. Well, you know what? He better value more than experience right now? Winning. Brian Kelly better value winning more than experience right now, or else things might take a turn. Brian Kelly has to start valuing winning over all the other. You know, I love a principled coach. I love a coach with a philosophy. I love a coach that says, hey, I believe in this. We're going to do it this way. We're not going to be like everybody else. We're going to stand apart from everybody else. We're going to have a philosophy. We're going to actually have a culture. We're going to have an identity. That's what LSU already is about, though. LSU already has that culture in spades. All right? What LSU needs more than anything is to win. You look at the guys on this team, you already know they're going to be close. You already know there's that vibe in that locker room. You can feel it from the nucleus of who's running that locker room. It's Garrett Nussmeier. You think he's going to let a team that's going to be apart from each other, a team that's going to be arguing with each other? Hell no. He's not going to be a part of a team like that. So my point is, we know who we have with a nucleus of this team. The Nussmeiers, the Weeks, you know, the you could even say maybe Tyree Adams. I think he's going to be a consistent offensive line guy. Aaron Anderson, the leading receiver from last year. Caden Durham, of course, probably the most explosive player on the team. Okay. But for the rest of this, there's so many question marks here on this team. There's so many question marks. You cannot just bank on, oh, I saw the film on Nick Anderson. He caught 20 touchdowns or blah, blah, blah. No, I think he only had like 10. Yeah, I think he just had 10 touchdowns. But Nick Anderson was just so incredible at Oklahoma. But here's the thing. He did not play in SEC play. His best season was what, 2023? 2022? Let me look that up real quick. But Nick Anderson has never played in the SEC level. So you cannot just look at certain guys and just say, hey, he's going to be fine. He's going to be great. Plug and play. 798 yards in 2023, 10 touchdowns. I was correct on the touchdown number. It's just, you cannot just pencil guys in and be like, he's going to be fine. He's going to be a superstar. Look at Deuce Chestnut. I remember so many people high on that kid. Who cares? He was a baller at Syracuse. It doesn't matter if it was Syracuse. He was better, than that conference. And, he's going to fit in. He had an interception in that first half against Florida State, and things looked like, hey, maybe. And then when he got matched, after Major Burns got burned on a few plays, and they moved Chestnut over there onto Keon Coleman, we found out very quickly what Deuce Chestnut was capable of. Why did we not find that out in fall camp? Why did we not find that out in spring? And for the first time in LSU under Brian Kelly, we have to find out right now how good our transfers are, how damn good these guys are that we brought in, because really it's a pinnacle of where this squad is, of who this squad is. You've got gems like, by the way, I got to pause it on this too, because this is Juwan Johnson running some plays as quarterback. It's just beautiful to see him at quarterback. That was news we could have broke a few months ago, but I slept on that story. We were told some news that he was going to switch over to quarterback, and I completely slept on that thing. It's just one of those situations where I was just talking to somebody like a human being, didn't think of it as, just break a story. I was just like, that's so cool for him, and didn't think about it. But Juwan Johnson, man, very excited to see him at second string quarterback or third string quarterback. We got to find out how good these transfers are, because they're the big basis of your team. Your pass rush is all transfers. The most explosive, outside of Aaron Anderson, parts of your receiving core are transfers. I mean, I think you could say Berrien Brown is going to be a superstar for LSU. I just have a hunch. The footage we've seen, the cut-ups, all of it, he's just electric, guys. He's just electric. And he's got unbelievable hands, unbelievable aggression. He doesn't have a problem fighting and for yards, fighting for big plays. You know what he can do in the return game. There's Barian Brown right there, number 6 in white, facing off against another transfer, Mansour Delane. We'll get into Mansour Delane in a bit here, but Barian Brown, my God, I just think he's going to be a superstar at LSU. I don't think, I know. He's going to be, guys. He's going to be. He's just so damn good. He's got it all. He's got all the tools in the tool belt. The speed, the hands, the finesse, the moves after the catch, the unbelievable pace after the catch. Just the turn, the way he can turn a corner out of the way, like the way he, just the burning routes that he can be able to run, the route tree that he can run. This isn't just a receiver that can do one or two things. This isn't just he's a burner profile, or he's just a downfield guy. This is a possession receiver, as they can say. No, Barian Brown does it all, and I'm excited to see him do it all at LSU. Every other receiver in the room should be very concerned about their place when you're talking about next to a guy like Barian Brown. I just I'm very, very locked in with what I see from Barian Brown, man. Love it. I love it. I think we're going to love watching this dude play. Now, for the second key to me, I just you got to find out who can help you, who can't among the returning players and kind of the guys on the fringes of the roster. Who are the guys who can help you and who can't? You know, who is it? Are you doing a wolf cry? What is that, Sage? We need to find out who can help you and who can't among the returning players and the Tigers on the fringes of this roster. LSU, you've got a lot of dudes on this roster who might just be able to be something special, but they might be guys who are kind of some dead weight on this team, just some depth. And I think you're going to see Brian Kelly for once not play favorites, not put one guy, just keep one guy on this team no matter what, hell high water, because he likes him. I think you're going to see Brian Kelly make some tough decisions. And just like he did this offseason, where Kelly straight up processed guys. You can say that, hey, they made the decision to leave and they took off and they went for, a bigger offer, whatever you want to say. There's some guys that Brian Kelly straight up just said, your scholarship's gone. Like, we're not going to renew your scholarship basically for next season. See ya. Like, pack your bags. Like, that's just straight up the truth. And by doing that, he cleared up the space for them to make this transfer portal push. Now, you've got those guys. Most of those guys should be starting for you or be rotational guys at least. So you move on from there. And you've got a lot of returning guys. We're talking in this list. We're talking about the Kyle Parkers of the world. Okay, we're talking about the Sean Washingtons of the world. We're talking about some of the guys at safety. Who is going to help LSU and who can help LSU and who can't? We're going to find that out maybe just a little in spring. But I think LSU should experiment as much as they can with the play calling, formations, with everything, positioning. Experiment with all of it to really figure out what you have. Because here's the one element that sucks about the circumstances of this offseason. LSU have a ton of injuries when you're talking about key players, mostly on defense. Jacobian Guillory is most likely going to start if he was fully healthy for this defense, right? He's out. You see him running. You see him like doing some work on the side, but he's out, at least until June. Same thing with Guillory, out until June with Weeks. Obviously, the SEC leader in solo tackles. Everybody knows about what he does for LSU and how important he is for LSU, what he means for LSU. And then Harold Perkins. Absolute wild card stud out there. And how are you going to be able to account for him in the playmaking, play calling in the future for this defense? They have Austin Osbury right now playing at the star position. I understand like having somebody fill out there at the star position and then just like kind of take these images and see what you've got, like, okay, we can blitz Perk from this position because we're creating that mismatch here with this guy doing this. And okay, you can really look at some things in that way. But man, when you've got Perkins' speed, you got Weeks' speed, you've got the aggression from those guys as well. You got Jacobian Guillory up in the middle as well. This defense will be a hell of a lot better with those guys. And I think if anyone is ever worried about Harold Perkins and what he is going to do in 2025, I think it's foolish. Harold Perkins is about to play in a season where he's finally going to be playing in a free role in a position where everyone is demanding he play in. Not just everyone, but now the coaching staff is. Okay. He's with Blake Baker now for year 2. There's going to be some type of understanding, some more chemistry there between the coach and his player, right? But not only that, Harold Perkins has never had this many elite players around him on defense before. Never. Not at LSU. Maybe at Cy Creek, but he's never had this at LSU where every dude possibly could be a legit man. You talking about Cooley, Toviano at safety, Perkins at star, Weeks, Keys, or the Weeks brothers starting at linebackers. You got Mansour Delane at corner. You got DJ Pickett, Ashton Stamps, PJ Woodland at the other spot. You've got Patrick Payton at one edge spot. You got Jameer Butler, Gabe Relaford, Jack Pyburn at the other. You got Jacobian Guillory. You got Ahmad Bro. You got Dominic McKinley at DTs. I mean, this is a defense. If you avoid any more injuries, that's another big deal. If you avoid any more injuries, this defense, you got Lance Guidry. You got Kyle Williams. You got real football guys in that room. Kevin Peoples with more autonomy, more shot calling than ever before on the front. And then on the offensive side too, with Alex Atkins over there. But you have a loaded room defensively that should really this defense should at least be a top 30 squad. This should be a top 30 defense. And I think even a top 30 defense might be underselling what is possible and what should be possible when you have the athletes that LSU has going into this season. So I just, LSU can't really afford to cut the fat here anymore with this squad, but you've got to know who can help you and who can't, and who can be relied on and who can't, and kind of get a pecking order of things, and then allow the competition to naturally take place. Like if a guy is going to be hungrier by being second string for the rest of, okay. But if you're going to lose out on some valuable reps by keeping him in the first stringers because he's not playing around the starters, what are you doing? So I understand why Kelly, says like, okay, we're going to have Chester starting at center with the first string, even though we got Braylon Moore with the second team, who's most likely going to take over that center spot. Kind of what are you doing there? I think you should just kind of start, if that's your plan, go for it. Patrick Payton, Jack Pyburn, some of those guys. Jameer Butler's starting with the second team. Mansour Lane behind Stamps and Woodland. I get that. I think that's great loyalty shown there by Brian Kelly. And I think it will light a fire under both groups. The transfers saying, whoa, okay. All right, returner, I'm going to take your job. But then also the returner guys saying, hey, coach believes in me enough to do this, that I deserve to be, my contribution was that good. He says I deserve to at least be treated with some respect here in the totem pole of everything. Let's protect that position. Because, look at Ashton Stamps. Yeah, he got beat for 3 touchdowns last year, and he got beat for some big plays. 14 pass breakups, led the SEC. 14 pass breakups. He led the complete SEC with 14 pass breakups. So I have to say that again because it seems like no one will give this kid anything but crap. I just see Ashton Stamps getting a bunch of crap. And I just think sometimes we live in a highlight-driven football consumption world where too often opinions from media members, from fans alike, are created. Instead of watching full games, they're only watching the highlights, so they don't understand context. They don't understand cause and effect of what happened, what caused that. The quarterback got so destroyed, concussion, and even probably broke his shoulder on the play before. No wonder he threw that interception. Coach should have taken him out. Instead, you don't see any of that. You just see the quarterback throw a lame duck, horrible throw, and the guy picks it off. Yeah, what a terrible throw. What a shitty quarterback. You have no clue the context of why that interception was thrown or the terrible position the quarterback was put in. Just an example. You could have a million of those because football is a game of those scenarios. It's not like soccer usually where it's just like one long boot down the field and a guy could be free and then boom, it's in the net. You turn away and you miss the whole thing. Football, that can happen with some bombs down the field, sure. Usually you earn and build up to those big plays. It's not just like NFL 2K1, throw it to Moss 80 times. Dante Culpepper left the NFL a while ago, graduated from college a while ago. Like it's football is a game that makes you earn some of these big moments. And I just think I don't know where I was going with that. I just totally talked myself into a maze there. LSU has to find out who can help them and who can't among these returning players and among these Tigers on the fringe. Because I'm telling you, if you waste reps on certain guys and you overlook certain guys, you're gonna really be screwed. Especially when you're talking about a huge mix of transfers, 16 transfers. You trust the wrong transfer over another. You play the returning guy instead of the transfer. You have to identify, is Stamps really better than Mansour Lane? Is Woodland, maybe better than Mansour Lane? Who is really the best though at corner? And I just don't want we got to get into this too. There's talk of Mansour Lane and footage of Mansour Lane playing other defensive back positions. Not just nickel, but safety as well. Keep the dude at corner. What are you doing? This is the tinkering that drives me nuts. LSU is already short at corner. Already short at corner. Stamps, Woodland, DJ Pickett, Mansour Lane. You've got 4 guys that I can just count on. Like, yeah, of course, there's other guys that I'm forgetting, some kind of fringe guys on the roster, but you do not have the names to just take one off the board there. It's most likely going to be Mansour Lane on one side and DJ Pickett on the other. And I think you probably owe that to DJ Pickett to get his development up and running. And I think he's going to pay you back with more big plays than not for that as well. Another key for a successful spring, and it has to be, avoid new injuries. LSU have had some diabolical luck with injuries, as I just got through telling you about. When you're talking about, you lost Whit Weeks right there in the Baylor game. You lost Harold Perkins in week 4 against UCLA making a routine tackle. You lost Jacobian Guillory in week 2. You lost John Emery Jr. after week 1 to another ACL tear. LSU had injury problems up the ass last year. And, people were kind of like, oh, well, look at how much the defense is better without Harold Perkins, which is like the dumbest thing I've ever heard any LSU fan say. And I absolutely lit into some people for that. And people gave me a lot of shit for it at the time. You were wrong. You're just mad that people are sharing opinions you don't agree with. I'm like, no, your opinion just sucks. How can you say that? How can you say that we're better off without one of the fastest, most dynamic defenders in the country? What are you talking about? Honestly. I think I was proven right when you lose 3 straight games, including one to 4-5 Florida. You can't stop Marcel Reed, a guy who did very little after the LSU game. I just think we really forgot how good Harold Perkins is. And now you're going to see him surrounded by great talent. And you're going to see him on a defense that's littered with great players. You just got to get him back from that injury in full, whole piece. Just get him whole. I don't know how things are gonna go with Jacobian Guillory's return. It's an Achilles. This is not, this is what happens every time someone returns from it. It is just like probably 10 times worse or more like uncertain than an ACL injury even. So you're talking about something that's really off the charts, hard to deal with, hard to understand, hard to figure out, hard to rehab from. Especially when you're Jacobian Guillory. This is your last season, your last chance. He has to be able to play as much as possible, and at the same time, we can't. For his future, he has to play as much as possible. We can't run this kid into the ground week 1 against Clemson, playing him 30, 40 snaps. We have to really work him into this season. That's going to put way more responsibility on the shoulders of Dominic McKinley and Ahmad Bro. And guess what? I think those two are ready for it. They've shown they're ready for it. I'm excited for what we're going to see from Ahmad Bro and from Dominic McKinley this year. Because whether you think Jacobian Guillory or Sadir Mitchell or or Sean Washington, some of these other guys might have chances at DT. Zion Williams, who definitely looks the part. I think it's going to be really Ahmad Bro, Don McKinley playing in a lot of really tough places, really tough scenarios for LSU, and they're going to have to deliver. So avoiding new injuries is so key, though, because then you don't have to depend every single play on those guys, which allows McKinley to play with more freedom and less pressure, less fear. Because they've been in there, they've done that, they played a lot of snaps as a freshman too. So they've been able to do this and prove that they can do this. And now with Jacoby and Guillory coming back, maybe they don't have to play every single second. Harold Perkins coming back. Whit Weeks isn't going to have to play every single play of every game. It's West Weeks, his brother as well, another guy who was injured all of last season. He's back as well. He's fully healthy too. He's in spring practicing right now. I just think you avoid injuries. Obviously, you're going to be in a better state. But I just wanted to point out how big of a deal that is for LSU because of the situation they're in right now. You cannot have any more injuries. You just can't. I can't stress it enough. And guess what? You're going to have them. You're going to have more injuries because this is football. This is what happens. You're going to have injuries. It's just when and who. That's really what it's about. When and who. The timing of these injuries is everything. The timing and who is actually getting injured. That's the whole thing we're talking about here. Because would it be such a big deal if Brett Bordelon was the only one out there? No, I love Brett and I love the Bordelon family, but he's a freshman. He's new to the team. We don't really are needing him as much as his brother Bo, right? But you're missing Whit Weeks, Harold Perkins, Jacoby and Guillory on defense. I know it's only spring. We're not getting ahead of ourselves here. They're all supposed to be cleared for June. Point is, we could be a special defense if we can get those guys fully healthy and back and complement them, surround them with the guys we've just gotten, the guys we've just activated, the guys we just signed from the recruiting class. The 16 new transfers. This could be a loaded defense, especially when you're talking about coaches, Corey Raymond, Kevin Peoples, Kyle Williams now on the staff, Blake Baker leading the whole ship. This could be a dynamic defense. This could be a absolute slamming top 10 defense. And you know what? It's LSU. It should be. Am I going to expect that? No. I think this at best, you should expect probably top 30, top 40 type of defense. They should be this good, though. They should be that good. You're looking at names that were leading sackers on their team, and they might be third or fourth in line for LSU here. Bauer Sharp, when you go to the other end, just to show you the depth LSU have at some positions, and we're going to go to the offense as well right here, but Bauer Sharp, LSU's going to be their blocking tight end this year. He was Oklahoma's leading receiver last year. So the point is LSU have added depth in the coaching staff. Alex Atkins, Lance Guidry, these guys behind the scenes who can really make a huge difference. Former coordinators, going to be analysts. You add those type of pieces to the team, and then you're adding those pieces on the actual roster and in the back room and the staff. That's the makings of a team that's ready for a championship. And Garrett Nussmeier said it today. He said, I want to get this quote 100% right. I want to get this quote quote 100% right. So I don't want to mess this thing up at all. Let me look this up. Basically, Garrett Nussmeier doing a press conference. He said, we're going to be playing for a championship. That's what we expect to be doing, And let me take a look at this. Let's see here. Someone shared the clip. It was from Jacques Doucet, of course, Mr. Jacques. Follow Jacques. What sucks is Jacques' account was hacked. Okay, he's gotten his followers back. Now he's got more followers than me, though. God, that's sad. He's got his account back for only like a week, and he's got some new account. He's got more followers than us. Damn, we're terrible. Yeah, this is an allergy and intensity that I bring every quarterback, and I don't think it's crazy to say that this guy is the best quarterback in the SEC, right? I would say duh, but season's yet to be played out. There could be a few names that surprise us, but listen to the cojones on this young man.
I'm worried about doing the best I can to help LSU win a national championship. That's the mindset. That's the energy and intensity that I bring every single day. And it's not about me. It's not about the transition or the year 2. It's about LSU football and year 4 under Coach Kelly. What are we going to do? And we're not afraid to admit it. We've set the standard of where we expect to be, and we expect to play football in January next year. I'm worried about doing the best I can to help LSU win a national championship. That's the mindset. That's the energy and intensity that I bring every single day. And it's not about me. It's not about the transition or the year 2. It's about LSU football and year 4 under Coach Kelly. What are we going to do? And we're not afraid to admit it. We've set the standard of where we expect to be, and we expect to play football in January next year.
His voice is wavering with emotion. I don't think it's Garrett being nervous to say that or something. He doesn't give a shit about that being clipped everywhere. It already is. It's already made the rounds. Garrett Nussmeier. Okay. He should be saying this. If he wasn't saying this, I would wonder if something was wrong with him, because that's the Nussmeier I know, and that's the Nussmeier I know that is capable of delivering that type of success at LSU. It isn't just about the year 2 under Nuss. He's transitioning into year 2 just like Garrett. I mean, just like Joe, just like Jaden. Like, that narrative's going to be there. He can't do anything about that narrative. But you know what? If Garrett throws 15 touchdown passes this year and we win a national championship, I don't give a shit. If he throws 55 and we don't, I would rather have the 15 and we win one. And you know what? Nussmeier is going to say the same damn thing. So how about LSU and their fan base embrace kind of a throwback year this season with LSU offensively? We know that Nuss can run and gun with the best. We know this. The deep ball, all of it. We know what Nussmeier can do throwing the football. We know what a weapon Nussmeier is throwing the football. We know how good he is as a talent, as just a pure quarterback talent, but leading the SEC, leading the country in passing attempts is not going to get it done. It's not going to get it done. Especially when you have, for instance, some of my weaknesses, just for an example here. My weakness, if I don't get too excited and actually follow down some of these stories with all of the sources that I have, I wouldn't have made a few of the mistakes that I've made. So, that's something I can identify in my own self and what I do as some of the mistakes that I make. Nussmeier has a propensity to kind of get I can make this throw. No matter what, I can make this throw because I've done it before, and he probably has. And so he will attempt any possible throw. We got to get that out of him. And you know what? I'd rather him be more conservative this season, tucking the football, getting a couple yards and getting knocked out of bounds. I would rather have him doing that, throwing the ball away, taking a punt, not taking a sack, getting us knocked out of field goal range. These things, I would rather have him doing those than forcing the football this year. He's going to have incredible targets to throw the ball to, and he's going to want to load up the stats because this is a year where he has the weapons. He could come in within touching distance of Burrow's record if LSU had that type of an offensive season, which they're more than capable of doing. But for me and the schedule that LSU are facing, the talent that LSU are facing across this SEC, week one coming right out of the gates in the faux Death Valley against Clemson, man, I tell you what, LSU have to run the football. And here's the thing, too. We have to control games and close games out, too. We let so many leads slip early in the second half of games this year. There's so many moments where LSU should have kind of put the boot on the throat and ended this shit this last year, and we could not do it. Could not do it. LSU could not close games out. LSU could not hold on to leads. And LSU were a poor first half or second half team. There was no complete full game dominance outside of maybe Arkansas. Obviously, you could, we could talk about UCLA or this game or this game. I don't care. Like, let's talk about the games that really define the season. And yeah, LSU were so hot and cold last year. Nichols almost became a season-defining game. That's how bad LSU were last year at times. Nussmeier almost got knocked out of that game. Jacobian Guillory gets knocked out for the entire season from that game. LSU down at parts in that game, allowing big runs right through the teeth of the defense. Like, LSU cannot take any opponent for granted. LSU have to manage the players' reps, the minutes, the exhaustion factor. Especially if you think you're going to win a national championship in today's college football playoff, you're going to have to go and go and go some more. 17 games possibly. And LSU don't have what I would say is an endlessly deep team, especially at certain positions where it matters more than anything. Being fresh, having guys that can come in and out of games. The trenches. The trenches. And if LSU want to, win a national championship, it starts there and ends there, frankly. And really, we're talking about running the football, controlling games, closing games out. We're talking about protecting Nussmeier. We're talking about keeping Nussmeier with his, keeping Nussmeier so he's not having to worry about the pressure coming around and all this stuff, worrying about his offensive line. Protect him, and he's not going to have to second guess things, and he's just going to be able to keep his eye, and maybe he makes the right decision more often than not because his vision, his mind is more on what's in front of him, not what is breaking down around him. And so you have an opportunity here. LSU has a massive opportunity here. If they get it right in the trenches, man. And it'll be a huge accomplishment if LSU gets it right in the trenches and the coaches are capable of doing it. I'm telling you, they're capable of doing it, but it's a lot of new personnel. You're going to have to manufacture a lot of chemistry and a lot of togetherness within those groups very quickly, right out of the gate here. I'm talking 4 out of 5 starting O-linemen gone. I'm talking both edge rushers, leading sackers for last season, gone. Leading guys who had the most pressures too, gone. And so your full, your leading touchdown man at receiver, gone as well. Your veteran running back, you're replacing so many guys at key spots, okay? But there's nothing that is more impactful for this team going forward and being a successful, complete championship challenging team than the trenches. Avoiding injuries in the trenches, making sure the right guys get the reps in the trenches, everything we've been talking about, but trenches focused. We wrote an article about this. The way the O-line and the way the D-line go this year is the way LSU will go. I don't want to talk about Nussmeier throwing for 50 touchdowns and a high-flying offense and all these weapons. I don't want to talk about that shit. I want an offense that can win games when it's ugly, when it's nasty, when it doesn't really look too aesthetically pleasing. But you can kind of rest back like this, arms like back like this, because you've got hogs in front and a guy in the backfield who's going to get the yards. And you've got a quarterback who's going to take care of the football. And you've got an offense that isn't going to waste the opportunities this defense gives them. And so I'd rather have a conservative offense this year with Nussmeier with the flashes of down the field throwing and at the right moment, those type of things, the dagger moments. I'd rather have that than a high-flying offense that maybe leaves our defense a bit exhausted, having to come out more drives, more shootouts, endless point fests. That's not the formula for a winning season this year. I just don't see it. I see that this would be the winning formula for a team like this, the team that is completely in this exact circumstances we're talking about. All these new transfers, all these returners, all these young leaders across the board. Some inexperience, some just lack of chemistry. But you have a strong ass, very, very successful, loaded coaching staff as well. And then you're loaded to all these certain spots. Receiver. I like the running back position, especially if you get Holly back in there. Oh, it looks so good. Linebacker as well. Edge rusher. You've got some rooms that are loaded with talent. And if you can follow along and raise your game at certain other spots, DT gets to that pinnacle spot. Safety. This LSU team could absolutely not only win, double-digit games and get into the college football playoff. Brian Kelly needs to not only be in the playoff, he needs to be winning games in the playoff this year to get away from that type of pressure. And thank God he's got Garrett Nussmeier at quarterback to give him that chance, because I think crazily this might be the best opportunity for them to make that happen. Paul Tarver says, Lon, as per defensive tackle chatter, they are locking in with Kyle Williams. Special emphasis on shedding double teams to get to running back, quarterback. I mean, these are early days, though. And locking in looks like guys kind of just going like, okay, and doing what a coach tells them. Of course, they're going to do that. A lot of the stuff I'm seeing media guys point out, I'm not ripping on people by saying these things. I'm literally observing things, and these people can have said way worse about me and how I do my job, for starters. Okay, so the fact that some of these people are so thin-skinned is absolutely hilarious. Jarrett Roser coming at me today was very strange. It's like, what was that, bro? But I've been nothing but respectful to that guy. And just because it was his video, I don't know why he took that personally. Me saying that the media didn't ask Whit West a question about himself. They only asked him questions about other people, which is what they did. I guess you can't call balls and strikes now without offending somebody. It's kind of funny. But there's a lot of media talking that is like just kind of circulating, regurgitating the obvious. It's going to be a bunch of new faces. It's going to be, rotating here and there. They're going to be experimenting. It's tough for me to write the same article over and over and over and over and over, like a lot of these guys do, because I feel like it would be cheating you guys. I mean, if you guys want me to cover every second like that, where it's just boom, 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 every second that even needs covering, even though we could wait 20, 30 more minutes and actually write something worthwhile, 2-3 hours, write something worthwhile, the just shitting out content nonstop seems to be kind of the modus operandi of most sports writing sites. But that's not the modus operandi of ours. We like to put out as much content as possible, but we want to put out the best. And we haven't reached that level, but I like to think that we are constantly trying, constantly pushing for that goal. Some days are better than others. Sometimes we have some big wins. Sometimes we've had some losses. Sometimes we've looked triumphant. Sometimes no one even wants to have anything to do with us. Sometimes we've, been able to be right there in the heat of the action, right there where every LSU fan, every LSU media member would love to be. And then there's sometimes we've been on the sidelines, not able to be in the moment. So we don't take anything for granted. That's all I'll say, because that's an obvious fact. Paul Tarver says, hope our new running back coordinator from Florida State mixes things up, be less predictable, insert some counter plays. Well, it's funny you should mention counter. I don't know if you're saying that because you've read that, but what I've seen them practicing a lot of on film is literally counter tray, where Caden Durham is using his speed and his agility and his ability, to make guys miss, and to make that, plant that foot in the ground, make that cut. LSU hasn't done enough of this. And you know why? LSU didn't have the athletes in the backfield to do it. Maybe if John Emery Jr. stays full season last year, we do it. Maybe if we don't make Caleb Jackson add 30, 40 pounds to his body for no fucking reason, maybe he does it. People have discounted Caleb Jackson too. That's a kid who could really be successful this season. And no one's paying attention to him or saying his name at all. Well, guess what? No one was saying Caden Durham's going into last year. They were all saying Caleb's. So it's kind of crazy how things turn at LSU. And that just tells you a hell of a lot of talent. Alex Atkins, he's the tight ends analyst, but he's really, like you said, running game coordinator. Running back coordinator would be Frank Wilson, running backs coach. But, you can say it. He was working more with the tight ends, because it's all about the tight ends and the offensive line and the blocking structure, the setup of the actual blocking itself. So there's been some changes. Before we log off here, I wanted to say some stuff. I don't know how much I should share, what I should share, but I don't know what we're doing. I don't even know what we're about to say. We're just going to kind of just do this. But there's been a lot of stuff going on for us and our family. And stuff that is just unspeakable, terrible stuff. And we are trying to keep pushing through, but it's taken a lot of resources, a lot of time. I'm not sure. I really don't know if I'll be able to get to spring to cover LSU's spring camp until maybe like the weekend of the spring non-game, which they've officially announced they're not going to be a spring game, just an open practice with an autograph session at the end. This is this has been probably the toughest time in a long time, and I just it seems like everything is almost like set up against us in a way. Like there's been any type of progress, it's like, oh shit. And I'm meaning not just like for me, LSU stuff. I'm talking about like me, my family. Like this isn't really like a selfish thing here. This is really about everybody and what's kind of been going on. And it's been a little soul destroying. It's been a little mind numbing, and it's been a little crazy. And I think if at some point we'll tell you everything that's going on, but like it's just if it was all about me and happening to me, I would share everything if you guys wanted that, but I just cannot for the sake of Chelsea and other people. But just know we're going to do everything we can to make it to spring camp. But due to just an almost like cursed like list of like another thing we have to deal with, another thing that's going to swallow a ton of money, another thing that's going to put us in this position, like it's been a lot. Trying to keep our heads above water, trying to keep our heads up, and we have been doing it. But you know, some of my Al Davis thing was so caused by the distractions and the insanity, where if I had just stayed on that story and looked at my phone more, and certain people were trying to talk to me and I was ignoring them for some stupid reason, if I had talked to those people, that thing would have never happened. So it has just been affecting a lot, and I'm just tired of it. And we've gotten to a point where we've made certain decisions to say, no, Moss, we will not let these outside forces affect things, and the best that we can. So pray for us that we will get to spring somehow. Pray for us that we will somehow get some peace of mind coming here, and some calm seas. You know, I will say it like this: inside the family home, inside our little family, everything is so good. Like everything is so damn good. But it's more to do with extended stuff that's been really the most kind of hard to take. So everybody, thank you so much for watching. Hopefully we'll make it to spring to cover some stuff, because it's been too long. It's been since we weren't able to make it to last spring. And that can't go on for a second straight year. That can't happen. So everybody, thank you very much, and go Tigers.